Hello, and welcome into another episode of Popcorn for Breakfast with your co-host, Kirk. What is that sound? It sounded like you just... You were trying to mute. Oh, my... For those of you who are not watching on YouTube, that was an all-time Kirk moment. He was pretending to be a red panda, I believe.
That is exactly right.
And was struggling to mute while maintaining his panda pose. And then made an ear-splitting shriek. It was just incredible.
I thought you might unmute me because you saw my hands.
Well, I was going to, but a couple of times that I've done that, you've remuted yourself. So it's like I never know. We really need to be more coordinated. But
and then I hit the unmute button, but it wouldn't unmute, and so I was just trapped in this muted limbo. Oh my goodness.
It was a nightmare scenario.
I mean, let's just say that you caught me turning red, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, that's bad. That's bad. All right. So, as Kirk has mentioned, this is our movie review episode, in case you were wondering. And we are reviewing the film Turning Red. It's a Pixar film, Disney and Pixar film. Went straight to Disney Plus, did not go to theaters, which was the subject of much controversy among Pixar employees. We won't get too much into that because we've already sort of covered it on the podcast. You can sort of go back and listen to those episodes. But yeah, this movie released on Disney Plus. It released last Friday. And if you've been following along, you might be saying, why aren't they reviewing The Adam Project? Because we had discussed potentially reviewing that one. We put it on social media. We got literally a half and half vote on which movie we should review between the two. But the great news is that there's nothing good coming out next week. So we get to review both movies. We'll be reviewing Turning Red this week. And next week, you can swing back around and hear our review of The Adam Project. It'll release next Thursday. So without further ado, Kirk, have you recovered from your incident?
No, because now I was actively using my mute button so I could laugh it out a little bit, and
yeah,
I've just been giddy over here. And I thought you were going to unmute me to hear me cackle. You know, like when you're laughing alone sometimes, and it's not like even. It should never be a public laugh sometimes, the way that we giggle in private.
Yes.
That's what I thought you were about to expose me to
never,
the world.
Never. I would never do such a thing.
Also, I want to talk about that vote real quick.
Yeah.
Your wife, Jackie, decided to vote only to stir the pot. She said, I'm just voting Turning Red to keep things interesting, because at the time she tied it back up.
Yes.
And I thought that was a baller move. I thought that was hilarious.
And then it just traded spots. I commented on her thing that some men just want to watch the world burn.
Yes,
I love it. She definitely falls in that category. She often has no motive for what she's doing, just chaos and anarchy is what she wants to see. So
in the Batman 2, I think Jackie has a really good opportunity to play the Joker. I think it would be pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good fit in terms of their psyche. You know, they're at a similar place, so it would work. She doesn't have a lot of experience, but hey, you know, sometimes you just need the fit. So yeah, that did stir the pot. Mission accomplished on her part, and it got lots more votes rolling in, and so we ended up at a point where we hate conflict, so we just are going to review both. We'll review this one this week and the other one the next week, so it'll be perfect.
Yes.
But Kirk, this week, we're talking about Disney and Pixar's Turning Red. And Kirk, you have the honors of kicking us off with a quick synopsis of this movie whenever you're ready.
Yes, here we go. In my perfect movie voice. Turning 13 has never been more traumatizing. May, a Toronto citizen and of Chinese descent, learns the dark secret her family has been hiding, that they are all part red panda. With only one night to tame the beast, May must choose between families or friends as a once-in-a-lifetime boy band concert experience is coming to town. Now streaming on Disney Plus, Turning Red.
Nice, Kirk. That was very professional. Very professional. I liked it. Yeah, this one's interesting. It was directed by Domee Shi, who is an Academy Award winning director already. She won an Academy Award for the short film Bao, which was a Pixar animated short that premiered before. Oh, what movie was it? Coco? No, that they did a Frozen thing
Was it
before
Soul?
that.
No,
No, it wasn't Soul. It was before that. It might have been. It might have been Inside Out.
Onward?
It might have been that long ago.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, she won an Academy Award for that film and was then given the opportunity to direct this film. And it's actually an all-female creative team behind this. So that's pretty cool. And Kirk summarized it greatly. So let's jump into it. If you're new to the show, I always like to give the rundown. We do superlatives, which is we do the best actor, which is called And the Oscar Goes To. We do scene stealer, which is like the underrated performance. Showstopper, which is the best production piece of the movie or the thing that really like stole the show. And then we do director shoes, which is our critiques before wrapping it up with final thoughts and scores out of 10 kernels. Kirk, why don't you get us started with And the Oscar Goes To?
And the Oscar goes to the character May, played by Rosalie Chiang. Newcomer, kind of. She's been in some shorts. Yeah. I don't know of any upcoming stuff, but man, really, really stellar debut performance, if you will. She has a lot of ground to cover. She starts as just this girl who's following the rules. She likes to hang with her friends. She really has some niche weird quirks like every preteen and teen has, and every adult, let's be honest. And she has to discover how to be both of those people comfortably and tear away down the norms that are expected of her from society, from family, and just really discover who she is. And I know that's crazy to say, hey, here's this Disney Pixar movie, and she's going to do a deep dive into her psyche and her personality and needs and her id and her ego. But actually, it's right up Disney and Pixar's alley, as we know. And using all of that to tell an actor to do that in a vocal performance, let alone, I mean, your girl is probably like 16 or 17 years old. I haven't looked it up, but absolutely stellar performance, top to bottom. I fully believed her in every aspect. I completely agreed with the mesh of voice to character. Sometimes we get characters that are animated and we can either only see the actor themselves, like if it's like a high profile actor that we've all know and love, or we say that just doesn't fit. I don't see Danny DeVito's voice coming well as Arthur in the PBS show. That doesn't make any sense. Or we get this perfect mend where the actor has studied what the character looks like in the lines in front of them and figured out who this person really is. And I really felt like it was a really fantastic study of that character, and I believed it the whole time. So bravo, Miss Rosalie Chiang.
Yeah, good call outs, Kirk. And I have to agree in almost every single way. My selection as well was Rosalie Chiang. I thought she did a fantastic job. I think this performance is really reminiscent to me of Caitlin Diaz, who played Riley in Inside Out, which is another Disney and Pixar film, in the sense that the way that she was able to capture the childlike sense of, I don't know, it's like innocence, but also slight confusion and apprehension and lack of confidence, but also like excitement, like all of those things meshed into one vocal tone and inflection. She was really able to capture that for, this 13-year-old character, which is similar to kind of like how Riley is in Inside Out. And both of those performances I just thought were so good because they're so believable because of the way that the voice matches the character so well. But also what's great about this being sort of a coming of age story and Rosalie Chiang, her performance, is that this is a girl who's trying to find herself, and so she's a different person with her friends than she is around other people, and certainly a different person at school than she is around her parents. And, At times she's really excited about something. At times she's horribly embarrassed about something. The roller coaster of emotions that comes with being, a pubescent preteen is beautifully captured in this performance in all of its many varying ways. There was never a time where you felt like, oh, is she concerned? Because her face looks concerned, but she doesn't sound concerned. It was just a perfect match through and through. And I think that people, I say it every single time we do an animated movie, I think people sort of shrug off vocal performances, thinking that it's not as difficult. And in some ways that may be true, but in other ways it's definitely not. In other ways, it's harder at times to do a good voice acting performance. And you can tell the people who really put thought and care into it and do a great job and deliver a great performance versus just phoning it in. And Rosalie Chiang did a fantastic job, and I thought she was great. So great job as Meilin Lee, our leading lady.
A realistic comparison would be John Travolta in Bolt, because that was just awful.
That was awful. That was awful. There have been some really, truly bad vocal castings over the course of, animated film history. Just some really bad matches. But that one you just mentioned might be one of the worst, to be honest. Just
yes,
really awful. So, glad that was not the case here. But Kirk, this movie had a cast of characters that was hilarious and flamboyant and colorful. Just like all had such a very zany personality about each individual character. So I'm interested to know who you went with as your scene stealer.
My scene stealer went to Miss Sandra Oh of Grey's Anatomy fame. She's also in a fantastic film. She plays a supporting role in, I don't know if this movie is for everyone, but it's called Hard Candy. Definitely not a children's movie. Neither is Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
So I think that what drew me to her as the mom, as Ming, Sandra Oh, was able to also do a very similar thing. They wrote these characters as so similar. The daughter mother conflict of, man, as a mother, but when I was a kid, I was wild, I was untamed, I was rebellious, and I finally, settled down, and here I am today, and I have to maintain that idea, that look for you, that modeling behavior for you, for my daughter, for May. And then she just lets it all go. She just can't hold it in anymore. And it's pretty fantastic to see the comparison there. I think that what Sandra Oh did was, first of all, an unrecognizable vocal performance. I did not hear her specifically in it at all. And I thought that there were just so many moments of the traditional uptight mom, but also throughout there, you got these glimpses of how much she cares about her daughter, the fear of how much she cares for her, to lose her to something else that she doesn't think is right for her, or that she was taught or mistaught, I should rather say, into thinking that was the proper quote unquote path to take. So really just a stellar performance. Sandra Oh, I don't think we get enough of her. I've not watched Killing Eve just yet. It's on my watch list, and I'm really looking forward to dig into that to see more of her performances, Miss Sandra Oh.
I love it. And to your point, criminally underrated. And in fact, I think it might be considered like a scathing indictment on this movie if you don't choose Sandra Oh, because the pivotal relationship in this movie is between Meilin Lee and her mother, Ming, and it's such a rich relationship that they carve out, and part of that is due to the vocal performances. To your point, Kirk, a truly transformative vocal performance for Miss Sandra Oh, who totally camouflages herself in this new character and leaves herself unrecognizable, which is always something you kind of want a lot of times in vocal performances, because it's, you don't have that problem of seeing an actor not being able to get the actor out of your head. Instead, you've got a new character, but sometimes if you hear the voice, you're like, what? This, it just doesn't work out because you're just seeing that person. But in this case, Sandra Oh gave a really nuanced vocal performance, one that was, just has to be birthed out of real life experience from, her familial relationships. And I think, a really tough performance too, because recently with Pixar, generational emotional trauma has sort of been the flavor of the day. And there are, that's a tough onion to peel. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, and there's a lot of nuance and micro inflections that you have to put in your voice to convey that you're saying one thing, but the reason that you're saying it is something different. It's coming from a different place. And that's something that I thought Sandra Oh was able to do so effortlessly in this performance and make it so that this character really was all its own. It wasn't wholly Sandra Oh or totally this animated character. It was just its own thing. It's a transcendent character, and one that was really rich and really lovable. Maybe that's just me as a parent being like, I see you, I feel you. I don't know how she comes across to people who are non-parents, but I thought it was a really rich character. Good, obviously good writing helped along the way in terms of driving the plot forward, but she gave a really great performance, and I really enjoyed it. I really think Sandra Oh is underrated, to your point, Kirk. I think she's really awesome. Everything I've ever seen her in, and I'm not a Grey's Anatomy person, but everything I've seen her in, she's been fantastic. So glad to see her get another chance to shine here.
Indeed.
All right, let's move on to the production side. Pixar animated films, I mean, they're best in class, really, when it comes to animated children's films and the like. They've won countless Academy Awards. They get nominated every year. Everything that's happening at Disney Animation Studios is happening because of what has happened at Pixar. They are, the pinnacle of it all. So let's talk about this movie from a production standpoint and see what our thoughts are. Kirk, what was your showstopper?
My showstopper, quite easily, was the music in this film. I don't know if you can classify this as a musical because the main characters don't sing, but man, the boy band titled Four Town, they have some excellent songs. What's fantastic about the structure of this band is that I grew up very heavily in this era. It takes place, I believe, in 2002 is right when the ritual happens in order to tame the red panda and banish it forever so that May can live a normal, quote unquote, life. Of course, in the 90s and early 2000s, there was a band called O-Town. I saw them. I think they opened up for Britney Spears at the time that I saw them back in 2000. Also, probably 2002, 2001. I can't quite remember. And the music is just so good. It just takes over. You can't have this pure love of adolescent, pubescent, preteen, just like want of just like to have something that's your own. Such music is so prominent when you're that age than this music. And I mean, you have two of the five members of Four Town. Remember, they're called Four Town. Two of the five members are played by Jordan Fisher, Broadway star, and Phineas O'Connor, Billie Eilish's brother and also producer, music partner. They absolutely just destroy it. It's so good. It's such good music. It's such good vocals. Nothing else matters. If everything else failed in this movie, that it wouldn't matter because the boy band music and their aesthetic, their look is just so good. I loved it. It got me. Bravo, Four Town. I hope there's a separate album of just their stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, the boy band or boy band, girl band thing that was very much in play in the 2000s is definitely alive and well these days with K-pop. I mean, it's a similar movement. So it was cool to see them kind of single in on that era when they could have easily made this a movie that's set in the present day and focused on those bands. But it was nice to take a stroll down memory lane. And it was to your point, just such a nice and such an accurate homage to that era and what it represented to people. So that was a lot of fun. My showstopper is the art direction for this movie. I mean, I think there was a period of time where I was really sort of worried about Pixar in terms of creative direction. And that was the time when they were spinning out a lot of sequels to older movies and they were kind of, sort of stalling out in a way. I think, The Good Dinosaur, The Incredibles 2, which was really good, but was built on something they had already come out with. Monsters University, same thing, built on something they already had. And it felt like, what's next for this studio? And what I can definitively say now after this and Luca and Soul and Onward and all the great movies that have come out over the last year is that even if the subject matter or the plot or the characters are not as iconic, perhaps, as their predecessors in Toy Story and Monsters Inc. and Finding Nemo, etc. The art direction right now is simply top of the line, and I love everything that they're doing. I love that they're taking chances. They're not just falling back to the old Pixar formula of designing characters. They're really doing different things, and this movie is a testament to that more so than anything. I really thought that this movie was artistically diverse in terms of it mixed a lot of different things. They took full advantage of the animation medium, which you absolutely should do because it affords you so much creative depth and variety that you can dig into. And so they did these anime style fight sequences against the giant red panda kaiju, which I thought was just awesome and hilarious and amazing. They had these they use the very twinkly type of eyes that they use in anime whenever somebody is longing for something. And they took a lot of creative textures and tones and things like that from Eastern media. And then at the same time, even though this is set in the city, and there really aren't that many different environments. There's the school, there's the temple, there's walking around town. They managed to vary the color palette and texture so much to make it just a really rich visual experience. And I was just so impressed throughout that. And that's not even talking about the cinematography, which for an animated movie was really top of the line here. I was really impressed with the art direction and the way that they went with it, because I thought it was bold. I thought it was vibrant and zany and very well meshed with the themes of the movie. And I thought it was really, really well done. And frankly, better than most of the things that I've seen come out of Pixar in the last few years. So that was really cool to see. And I absolutely loved the art in this movie overall. All right.
Beautiful. It was beautiful.
Let's move into director's shoes and talk about our critiques for this movie and first-time feature film director Domee Shi.
Yes. This is where I don't feel like am or will ever be qualified enough to truly rate this film because of the content of it. So the things that I want to talk about in my director's shoes are marketing and medium, because this movie is slated to be for kids. It's a Pixar movie. There's a big fluffy red panda that's doing silly things, that's jumping on buildings and scared and trying to pet its face with brushes and try to just calm itself down, and poof, in and out of child versus panda. So I think that the marketing was so far off of who this movie is actually for. It's kind of like when Monster House came out, which was a Steven Spielberg produced flick it was truly a horrifying animated movie for young children who they thought it was for them. And then all of a sudden you have 6-year-olds crying in the theater because they weren't quite ready for it. The subject matter in Turning Red, remember we're giving out spoilers, talks about or assumes to talk about May becoming a woman. And we have lots of talk about puberty with her, specifically her getting her period that her mother thinks that she's getting, when in fact the curse of the red panda is actually upon us and she's transforming in that way. So there's wonderful, exciting, heartfelt discussions of transformation and what that means as a girl, as a woman, and how women are forced to meet a certain mold or act a certain way. The whole theme, all of the themes are spot on and wonderful, but you bring a 4-year-old to this movie, and I don't think they get it. You bring a 4-year-old to this movie and or a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old boy even, and I think that it's not marketed for them, and that is okay. So my problem with the movie is the marketing from the marketing team, not the movie itself. So it was a little disjointed when I went to watch it by myself, and I was like, whoa, this is fascinating, this is good, but it's not for little kids. So then you have to figure out what the medium problem is. That you have a big fluffy red panda, you have bright vibrant colors, you have Disney Pixar slammed on the label, right? So is the medium best served as a fully animated feature? Could they have done this live action with an animated red panda? I think they could have. I think there's enough technology where it would have stood the test of time, and you would have gotten a feel for, oh, this is for my 11-year-old child, my 12-year-old child, up to like even 16. It's not for those little kids wanting to see a fluffy red panda. So I think my director's shoes really comes out from that I had not a problem with, but I think it's of concern to parents wanting to take their kids to this movie and really have an entertaining time. All that said, again, fascinating, extraordinary storytelling, well completed themes and connections and relationships. I just don't know about that for me.
Yeah, it's a fair point, Kirk. And frankly, like a lot of what I saw out in the ether whenever this movie came out was from parents of young children who were upset that they went to turn on this movie for family movie night, and that, it wasn't what it turned out, what they thought it would be, which, is not the filmmaker's fault. It's not the film's fault. In fact, like to all of the points that you're making, you're spot on, Kirk. Like the theming, is important stuff. Let's demystify stuff let's demystify and destigmatize things that happen to everybody. These are good conversations and important ones. And really, even when you look at the rating of the movie, it's a PG Pixar movie, which means parental guidance suggested, which to me, as a parent of my children, means that I should pre-screen the movie before showing it to my kids, which it sounds like you did as well, Kirk. Some people see the Disney and Pixar, to your point, and they go, this is a family movie for kids of all ages, and I will turn it on. Which, frankly, my kids are 1 and 3. I could show this movie to my kids, and they would all go way over their head. But yeah, if I had a 7 and 8-year-old, I would want to talk to them about it beforehand, or maybe I would just wait until they were a little bit older, just because some of that subject matter just isn't going to resonate, or it might confuse them, or what have you, any number of things. It doesn't mean that it's an inappropriate movie. It doesn't mean that it's improperly rated, to your point. It's adequately rated. But yeah, the marketing, they're trying to sell a movie, and the best way to get eyeballs on it is to say, this is Disney and Pixar, and look at the pretty panda, and you should watch it with your kids. And it's so hard because they're kind of wrong for doing that, but you can't blame them. And the filmmakers certainly aren't wrong they made a movie that's appropriate for a certain age group. It just happens to have some subject matter that's a little over other people's heads. So it is very tricky. And I worry about it tarnishing the film reception, because it really shouldn't. It's not fair to the film, and it's not fair to the creators of the film, because they've done what I think they've made a good movie, and I think that they've done it's an important movie for a certain group of people who need to hear these things, and it goes far beyond menstruation and things like of that nature. It's way more about femininity and mother-daughter relationships and generational trauma and all of these very bigger themes. It just happens to have that in there as well because it's a coming-of-age story. So it's
and that part is in the scale of the whole movie. It's rather short. It's probably 15 minutes, of from start to finish, conversation. Yeah. But then it's probably like 3.5 minutes of actual conversation in the film. Which is fine. Like you said, it could be confusing to a child who isn't at that maturity to understand that happens to women yet. Yeah. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. So, man, I struggle with the marketing on this. But if I could strip the marketing away and just like walk into this movie without ever seeing anything about that, and just blow it out the window that this is a kid's movie, to just watch it, be like, hey, that's a well-structured, well-paced, well-executed film.
1000%. I agree. My director's shoes is related to those themes, and it's not the theme specifically that we were just talking about, but all of the themes in this movie. And my director's shoes is basically that I think it's a little overambitious on the themes. I think there are too many cooks in the kitchen as it relates to themes. I just rattle off a bunch of them. I mean, there's coming of age, there's familial mother-daughter relationships, there's what it means to be a woman in modern society and what's expected of you. There's this, generational trauma and parenting your kids while also trying to correct the wrongs of your parents, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there are so many things, and all of those themes are important and rich in their own right, and to a large extent are done pretty well. But some of them are not fully fleshed out and not fully complete thoughts or statements with a period on the end of them. And at the end, when you get to resolution on the plot, you're not exactly sure what theme has come full circle out of all of those. All of them you've learned something or you've been taught something throughout all of them, and they're all, very important, like I said. But it's hard to pinpoint, okay, so what was the underlying point and what were the sub themes? It really just kind of gets a little bit messy, particularly at the end when all of the women, so Meilin Lee, her mom, all the aunts, the grandma, which is a great moment. They're all in the the astral realm where they're trying to separate their pandas from their body, and you don't necessarily know how that scene's going to play out. And when it does play out the way that it does, you go, okay, so why did that happen? Because according to this theme, I would have expected this, but according to this theme, I would have expected this. And all of those themes are there and are intentional, but I don't feel like all of them are fully fleshed out. I think the thing that has made, and it's perhaps not fair to compare to past Pixar movies, but I think the thing that makes Pixar, or what has made Pixar's most iconic films truly generational, iconic, milestone type movies, is their singular purpose. I think about Finding Nemo. There is one theme, and it's about, not passing trauma onto your kids and what it means to be a parent to a child, and that love. That's it. Toy Story is all about capturing childhood and what's important to children. Like, there's always just one underlying theme underneath it. And that's what this movie, I think, lacked. And I think it would have really benefited from that, because in almost every other measurable way, it's a really technically sound film with lots of good aspects to point to and praise. But the themes just get a little bit ambitious and in my opinion, a little bit messy. But it was so close. It was so close. It was so close.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It gets a little crowded. It gets a little crowded in there. And to boil down the themes, kind of like in Inception, we have to boil down everything to a single positive reinforcing sentence,
yes,
to get our point across. And this one, too many. Unfortunately, they were all just running parallel to each other. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Final thoughts and scores. Kirk, let's hear it.
Yeah, I think the faux pas here was also in the third act, where you think you're about to get the resolution of the film. Automatically, the mother, Ming, goes through her explosive transformation back into her red panda and, grows 18,000 feet high and storms the city, looking for her daughter. That sequence is great, and it lasts a long time. We see her back in the astral plane, which is a really creepy place. Let's just be
yes, dude. It's scary.
The OG ancestor who incited all of the red panda stuff. It's really a cool and wonderful storyline, but she is horrifying. I'm not buying it, even when she seems super nice and kind when she finally speaks to May at the end. She's just, that animation horrified me. All those things were cool. All of them were cool. When you see the mother as a young girl and May is talking to her at the same age, very cool concepts. But we didn't need that in addition to everything else that was going on. So all of that said, I still think this is a prominent staple in Pixar's catalog. I don't think it's at the top of their list. Definitely not at the bottom of their list. But I would say within their top 15 is a good range for this particular film. I'm giving this movie a 7.6 out of 10 kernels today.
Yeah, we're gonna be close. We're gonna be close, Kirk. I mean, my thoughts are very similar. Which I'm, it's good, and I'm not necessarily surprised by it, but we're gonna be pretty close. So, for me, yeah, I mean, there's so much to love about this movie, and I mean so much. I love the creative direction. I love the art. I love the characters. Oh my gosh, that we didn't even talk about the pack of girlfriends, the four of them. Just so electric and fun. And this movie is hilarious. I mean, truly very funny. That could have easily been my showstopper, is the humor. There are some really good laugh out loud moments. And I think that for a good portion of the movie, you're totally able to just kind of sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. There's so much to love. There's good theming, cool characters, representation of a story that you might not have normally heard. That's really cool. So it's very much its own thing, and there's so much to really enjoy about it. And we have just sort of an Icarus situation going on here. Flew a little close to the sun, got a little over ambitious, and that happens. Especially, we see it. I just rewatched the movie The Harder They Fall, which is not at all comparable to this movie, but it's similar in the sense that a more not beginner level, but like a more junior filmmaker behind the camera there. And that movie at times is a little bit over ambitious in what it tries to accomplish. And it doesn't boil down to one singular thing at times. And this movie sort of falls into that same pitfall. So it's not the worst mistake you can make by any means. I think it's still like lots of good things just going on, just nothing that fully comes full circle to make it tight and concise and succinct. But that's, that happens. And so for me, I agree with Kirk. I don't think this is top tier Pixar, but if there are 3 tiers, A, B, C, this is B tier. And there are a lot of good movies in that B tier because Pixar makes a lot of good movies. There are decent movies in the C tier too, if we're being honest. So that's not a knock against it at all. I think I put Luca at 7.8 or 7.9, so I'm giving this an 8.0, because there are so many things that I will forgive some other stuff just because I loved the art and the creativity and the humor and the writing and so much about it. So yeah, I thought it was great. I really think it's a good movie. One you should check out. One you should watch before you watch it with your kids, obviously, as the PG rating suggests. But worth a watch. And, I feel for our friends at Pixar who were bummed that this movie didn't get a theatrical release. I think it deserved it. And I really get the sense, Kirk, that they're sort of recalibrating right now, Pixar, and because they've had some stuff recently that's just like, oh my gosh, good. Like Soul, incredible. But Luca was, I think below this one in terms of how good it was. And Onward, I thought, was spectacular. Yes. So I feel like there's lots of great things to still come out of that studio. They've traditionally done great things. So I'm excited to see what the future holds. And I don't think this will be the last Pixar film directed by Domee Shi. I think she's earned her stripes here for sure.
She did. Well done. Well done.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. If you saw Turning Red, let us know your thoughts. I mean, I know that, like I said, saw a lot of controversy. I think it's a sticky situation with the marketing. It's easy to see how we got here, and you don't really know who to blame. It's just kind of one of those situations where there's no real good answer. But hopefully you were able to see it and enjoy it. But let us know your thoughts on it. We'll be doing another review next week. That review will be of the movie The Atom Project. This time we know for sure we'll be reviewing The Atom Project, which is available to stream on Netflix, directed by Sean Levi, starring Ryan Reynolds, Mark Ruffalo, Zoe Saldana, Jennifer Garner, and others. So we will talk to you guys when we review that film, and catch us for What's Poppin' early next week. But until that time, I want to give a special thanks to our executive producer, Ryan Spriggs, and the band that created our original music, Rhetoric. You're hearing those guys now. Check them out anywhere you stream music, and we will see you next week.
Talk to you then.
Bye.